This week, the fate of Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky is decided. First thing this week is round 2, the Second Battle of Corinth. Just as the sun rises, Major General William Rosecrans gives the first order of the day. 3 divisions move north to occupy the rifle pits left by the Confederates from the first siege. Brigadier General John McKean, whose division is from the Army of the Tennessee, takes the left. Brigadier General Thomas A. Davies, the other divisional commander from the Army of the Tennessee, takes the center. On the other side of Elam Creek, Brigadier General Charles Hamilton takes the right. Brigadier General David Stanley's division is held in reserves. The divisions from the Army of the Tennessee have 3 brigades. Army of the Mississippi divisions have 2 brigades. At 10 a.m., Major General Earl Van Dorn begins the battle, sending Major General Mansfield Lovell's division against General McKean's, specifically targeting the westmost of McKean's brigades. Brigadier General John MacArthur, who is encircled on 3 sides. MacArthur's men hold. Sewell moves the attack to Colonel John Oliver's brigade, which is McKean's center. Here the Confederates do even better, and the ground commanders rush regiments to Oliver's aid. This aid proves to be a mistake, as Major General Sterling Price appears with his 2 divisions and sends Brigadier General Murray to strike Brigadier General Davies' left flank. General Davies advances his line to meet with the Confederate advance. This opens up a gap between him and General McKean, which Brigadier General John Villapig from Lovell's division and Brigadier General William Cabell from Murray's division take advantage of. 2 Confederate brigades split the Union line. General MacArthur falls back, forcing General Davies to do the same. The entire Union line west of Elam Creek falls back to just in front of Battery Robinette. The Confederates are in quick pursuit, opening up their rear and flank to General Hamilton. General Rosecrans sends Hamilton in order to capitalize on this error. The Confederate advance halts. The Union has successfully fallen back to its battle works. The battle starts up again at 3 p.m. when Major General Earl Van Dorn orders the charge of the Union fortifications. Damned be the battle works. Union's fortifications don't even come into play, as the artillery of Battery Robinette fires accurately and quickly into the Confederate lines. After many effective shots, General Davies resupplies them, have them go another round, and then resupplies them again. After 90 minutes of constant heavy gun action, the Union gunners are ordered to the rear. They can do no more. They have spent even their reserves of ammunition. The Confederates can now advance again, making the march towards the Federal line. Suddenly, a long volley is fired. Rebels drop and have to be stepped over. Another volley, cutting down companies. The gunfire is murderous on the exposed brigades. At 5, the Union distributes ammunition to keep up the hellish duel of muskets. Brigadier General John Moore of General Maury's division charges General MacArthur, causing him to fall back, causing General Davies to fall back, who form a line with Battery Robinette. And the day is over. But the question on every Union soldier's mind is, where was General Hamilton? He was given an order around 4 hours ago. He blundered the opportunity. He couldn't get his men in position during the day. Both Rosecrans and Dorn wanted just 1 more hour of sun. That did not come. 1 hour more of daylight, and victory would have soothed our grief for the loss of the gallant dead who sleep on that lost but not dishonored field. The battle continues on the 4th. The Union line changed. Davies moved over to the east of Elam Creek, forms up with General Hamilton using Battery Powell to form the center. On the west of Elam Creek, General Stanley and General McKean form up a less tight battle line with Battery Robinette. They have formed up on the College Hill line. At 4:30 a.m., the sound of cannons awaken the Union camp. Van Dorn has a very risky plan. He knows he doesn't have numbers, so he isn't holding anything in reserves. General Ebert will move south on Purdy Road and strike at Battery Powell. General Lovell and Murray will strike at Battery Robinette. Lovell will move through the woods, target McKean, and Murray will take Chihuahua Road to move against Stanley. The battle is to begin at dawn. It doesn't. At 7, the sickly General Ebert arrives at Dorn's HQ. He is ill and can't lead his division. Major General Sterling Price then places Brigadier General Martin Green in command, and Green's brigade is to be led by Colonel Moore. General Green takes another hour to get his men in position. General Moore is already skirmishing. When General Green is ready, he orders the frontal advance. All lines moved across the railroad, advancing slowly and steadily, our skirmishers constantly fighting with those of the enemy, driving them back. When within 200 yards, the command was ordered to charge at double quick. The whole line now moved forward with great rapidity. Officers and men all seemed eager to be foremost in reaching the fortifications, but it was a hard road to travel, climbing over logs, brush, and fallen timbers, while massed batteries of the enemy opened up at almost every step with greater slaughter, but nothing daunted, the division pressed forward. Those Union skirmishers then move out of the way, and Davies' guns open up. The Confederates advance under the shells and open fire. Colonel Thomas Sweeney, who replaced Brigadier General Pleasant Hackelman, who was killed yesterday, holds his brigade against the onslaught of musket balls. Then the Confederates charge. The 52nd Illinois, who was in the thick of it yesterday, retreats. Then the Union Brigade, a unit the size of a regiment, made up of survivors from the Hornet's Nest, falls back. Sweeney orders a withdrawal in the chaos. The unit next to Sweeney was the 56th Illinois, who fires a volley, then falls back. The Union seems to be routing. The rebels take Union artillery and turns it on our boys in blue. The hand-to-hand combat moves in on the city of Corinth, getting dangerously close to Union HQ. Over to the west, at Battery Robinette, Colonel John W. Fuller has his Ohio Brigade firmly planted at the breastworks. He sees 1, no 2, no 3. Is that 4 columns of Confederates marching towards him under the direction of General Murray? The Union artillery opens fire, and Fuller orders his men to hit the ground and hold fire. The heavy guns don't stop General Murray. He advances to within 100 yards of the battery when a volley suddenly strikes him. Maury regroups and prepares for another assault. His men charge and keep going after being struck by a sudden volley from the 27th Ohio, who then switch to the bayonet. Brigadier General Charles Spear's brigade sees the majority of the Confederate sides fight. The 9th Texas Cavalry, all dismounted, are soon beaten and their flag captured. The Union repulses the assault, but at a heavy cost. Their defense in front of Battery Robinette has disintegrated, but it is replaced. The battery itself has been greatly responsible for the Union's success in the battle so far. A third assault begins, this one with Brigadier General John C. Moore's brigade taking on the brunt of the action, although the 2nd Texas is charged with executing a flanking maneuver. Boys, when you charge, give a good yell! The 2nd Texas charges, but a close-range volley from the 63rd Ohio stops them early. While the 2nd Texas is rearranging, the 63rd Ohio charges in. Both sides advance with bayonets. But numbers give way, and the Confederates take Battery Robinette after a grueling battle. Then the 11th Missouri stands up and charges the tired Confederates, taking the battery back. Brigadier General Thomas A. Davies on the east side of Elam Creek counterattacks the Confederates. You see, earlier, after a grueling battle, Battery Powell was taken by the rebels, but it is now retaken. Brigadier General Hamilton sees opportunity and sends in Brigadier General Jeremiah Sullivan, who pushes back the forces of General Martin Green. The Confederates have been fighting for 2 days now and are out of ammunition. 3 cheers are heard and they fall back. It's 1 p.m. And at 4 p.m., reinforcements from Major General Grant arrive. The Union suffers 2,359 casualties to the Confederates' 4,838. Major General Rosecrans does not pursue Van Dorn until October 5th, 1862. On the 5th, Major General Edward Ord attacks Generals Dorn and Price. He suffers 500 casualties to their 400, but he does win the field of battle, although they escape. Back to the 4th. The Union's blockade around Texas tightens as the bloodless Battle of Galveston Harbor ends with a Union victory. Also on the 4th, Major General William J. Hardee arrives at Perryville, Kentucky. He sends word to full General Braxton Bragg to send reinforcements immediately. Bragg wishes to instead concentrate his forces elsewhere, specifically at Versailles, Kentucky. Major General Charles C. Gilbert is nearing Perryville with his 3rd Corps. General Bragg rushes Major General Leonidas Polk with his army to Perryville, as Major General Don Carlos Buell tries desperately to get his separate forces there first. By the 7th, all forces have arrived within the vicinity of Perryville. The 55,000-strong Army of the Ohio is in 3 places. Major General Alexander McCook, with 13,000, is north on Mackville Road. Major General Charles C. Gilbert forms the center along Springfield Pike with 22,000 men. And lastly, Major General Thomas L. Crittenden takes the south along Lebanon Road with 20,000 men. The Confederates are way more simple. General Hardee forms the left and Polk the right. The battle begins early on the morning of the 8th. The 10th Indiana makes a discovery, a pool. They advance towards it, unknowingly into the 7th Arkansas. The Hoosiers fire a few rounds at the rebel regiment. The battle is still early, as is the day, and before the sun rises, an order goes to Brigadier General Philip Sheridan of the 11th Corps to advance and occupy Peters Hill. Colonel Daniel McCook, brother to Major General Alexander McCook, moves up with his brigade and joins the 10th Indiana in the assault against the 7th Arkansas. General Sheridan takes the hill and waits. He has been told not to bring on a major engagement, and he sticks to his orders. Major General Polk had earlier told General Bragg he would attack what was supposed to be a very small Union force at Perryville, but now realizing his underestimation of the Union forces, calls a council of war. They are in agreement. An assault would be foolish. Play the defense. That gives them more options. By now, it's 8. The sun has risen. Bragg is in nearby Harrodsburg. Where are the sounds of battle? Polk was to attack the Union hours ago. The Confederate general hops on a horse and rides to Perryville. It will be a while until he arrives. Captain Gay with his cavalry brigade scouts ahead and makes way left of the hill for Union artillery set up. Once the guns unlimber, Captain Hotchkiss orders his 2 12-pounders to commence their bombardment. By 9, General McCook with the 1st Corps begins arriving on the field at Dixville Crossroads. At 10, Hotchkiss's 12-pounders are replaced by rifle guns. Just as the heavy rifle guns begin to move into position, a horse rides into Polk's HQ. General Braxton Bragg has arrived. He is furious with the passivity of his subordinates' plan. He rides out to conduct reconnaissance in person. After an hour of riding up and down Chaplin River, he returns to HQ and comes up with a plan to assault the Union at 12:30. Major General Buell is concerned by the late arrival of 2 of his corps. The 2nd Corps hasn't even arrived yet. He cancels the plan to assault for the day. Brigadier General Lovell Rousseau takes his division and moves next to the battery on the hill. At 12:30, the Confederate batteries open up by hurling shells into Union ranks. Colonel Little, a brigade commander under Rousseau, sends out the 10th Ohio to the other side of Doctors Creek. General Polk sends out Colonel Wharton with his cavalry brigade to do preliminary reconnaissance of the Union's position. Wharton finds Rousseau, who has extended the Union line, Wharton finds Rousseau, who has extended the Union line, which he reports then back to Polk. Polk gets worried and delays the infantry assault. It doesn't take Bragg to realize he only hears artillery, no musketry. He rushes to find Polk. It takes him an hour, but upon learning of Wharton's report, he directs Major General Benjamin Chatham to take his division and advance to Walker's Bend. Wharton is again to assault from the north. General McCook takes his remaining men and reinforces Rousseau, strengthening the line further. Between Doctors and Wilson's Creek are 5 Union brigades on an elevated position. Colonel Starkweather, with his brigade, has deployed mostly in front of a cornfield, with a single Wisconsin regiment behind it. Things get even better for the Union as a courier reaches Buell. The 2nd Corps has begun to arrive on Lebanon Road. It's a mystery, though, to me at least, why General Thomas didn't hand this report in person. It is very unlike him to not follow orders. The 33rd Ohio is sent to collect water. The entire Union force is parched. The boys in blue reach the creek when they see something horrifying. Confederate brigades are getting into position, thousands upon thousands of rebels arranging themselves into battle lines and digging for great batteries of cannons to be put in place. They rush back to the Union camp and report on the imminent assault. Raw recruits from the 123rd Illinois and 105th Ohio are rushed to the open knob in advance of the Union positions. Brigadier General Daniel Smith Donaldson begins the Confederate advance. He believes that he will be striking the Union's left flank, but the Union line has been extended, and instead of assaulting a weak flank, he meets a wall of lead. Frontal brigade charges from Brigadier General James Anderson's division of Major General William Hardee's command are also repulsed. Union artillery aids the musket volleys, causing devastating casualties on the Confederacy. Two of General Cheatham's brigades form for the assault. They are Brigadier General A.P. Stewart's and Brigadier General George Manny's. Both come charging down at the 105th Ohio and 123rd Illinois, who are further aided by a battery, Parsons. In between the advanced 123rd and General Manny is a fence, the open knob, a strategic defensive position. Both charge to it. After a brave melee by the green 123rd Illinois, after a brave melee by the 123rd, General Manny's veterans seize the fence and sends them fleeing into the 105th ranks. While this is happening, further south, General Bushrod Johnson and his brigade cross the creek and strike the Union's exposed right flank. His advance is jumbled, and after a successful surprise attack on a Union battery, his unorganized line is held back by two regiments, the 3rd Ohio and the 15th Kentucky. But back to General Manny. His attack has been stalled by the 80th Illinois, which moved to reinforce the 105th Ohio and Parsons Battery. Once the Confederates get in position, they charge the advanced Union position once again, and after a brutal melee, take 7 out of the 8 cannons, the position, destroy the Union forces before them, and kill Brigadier General James Jackson, who was McCook's 2nd Divisional Commander. At the cornfield, the 21st Wisconsin bravely trades fire with Manny's men, but outnumbered and inexperienced, is forced to the rout. Back to General Johnson. He tries to push against the 15th Kentucky, who are holding down in a house, but as they advance, the 3rd Ohio, positioned behind a stone wall, open fire, driving them back. Johnson has been held at bay, leaving it up to Brigadier General Patrick Claiborne and Brigadier General Daniel Adams, who keep up the Confederate assault. Adams strikes Colonel Little's brigade with his own Louisiana brigade, forcing it back. Brigadier General Philip Sheridan, who has a division, may I remind you, could have intercepted the Louisiana forces, but didn't, because of being told he was not to waste ammunition. By 3:45, the combined assaults of Claiborne and Adams have broken Little's brigade, wounding and capturing the colonel and threatening the Union's right flank. Further south, Brigadier General James Anderson of the Confederacy moves his forces down the Springfield Pike, and has Colonel Powell strike giant portions of the 2 Union corps. An idiotic plan executed very well, with Powell keeping his distance, delaying Union reinforcements to the main battle. Buell soon learns of the severity of that main battle when a courier reaches him asking for further reinforcements from the 3rd Corps. It's looking bad for the Union. General Stewart and Manny of the Confederacy have taken the heights once defended by Starkweather. When they are ordered to fall back to Open Knob, the Union retakes the heights with 3 brigades, Starkweather's, Brigadier General William Terrell, and Colonel George Webster, who are then assaulted by the same 2 Confederate brigades. Terrell is mortally wounded in the Confederate assault. The 3 form up their brigades behind Benton Road, and the Confederates charge again. The Union's musketry repulses them, but Colonel Webster is killed. General James Jackson's division has lost its divisional commander and its 2 brigade commanders. Powell is forced back, and as the sun begins to set, the Confederates try for a final charge. Moving towards the Dixville crossroads, they let out a yell, but concentrated artillery fire crashes into their ranks, and as they get within range, rifle and musket volleys tear down their lines. The battle is a Confederate tactical victory, I guess. The Union lost 845 killed, 2,851 wounded, and 515 captured. The rebels, 510 killed, 2,635 wounded, and 251 captured. Though the tactical part of the battle isn't what is most important. It's a wake-up call to full General Braxton Bragg. Kentucky doesn't want the Confederacy. The populace won't reinforce or supply him, at least in the numbers expected or needed by him. So, he begins the long march back to Confederate territory. The Heartland Offensive is over. Then there is Sickles. He's in charge of a corps. Or is he? No, it was temporary. He goes back to divisional command, sulking. And then he thinks, if Sickles really wants to get the command he deserves, he needs to get the rank he deserves. Major General. He has allies in places of power. How hard could the commission be? That's where the week ends, with the Union being able to secure its gains in the West. While Second Corinth and Perryville may not be the amazing victories the Union wants, it's the strategic ones it needs. Going into the midterms, the question will be, is this enough? Are these Union victories enough to satisfy the public? For this week, I would like to thank the amazing Field Marshal with his own YouTube channel, which is in the description and will be in a comment below, for being my Sioux War correspondent. He does amazing videos on the War of Spanish Succession. You should really check him out. I would also like to thank my two amazing patrons, Kevin Mack and John Fox, for their continued support. We'll continue to bring whatever this is to you every week. You should be seeing now on the screen recommendations for other videos, a playlist, and to subscribe. I hope that you will do all three and at least two. Thank you, and I will see you next week.